Hello and welcome to the Celtic View podcast, the official podcast of Celtic Football Club. My name is Joe Donnelly and I'm joined today by Izzy Atkinson of the Celtic FC Women side. Izzy, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me, thank you.
I want to speak about your time since signing for Celtic in February, about how it's going in the women's side. Obviously, you are involved in this incredible run of form at the moment. But before I talk about any of that, I want to go back to when you did sign, and I'm actually going to read back to you. I know it's your pinned tweets. I know you're very familiar with this, but I want to make sure I get the wording right, so I've got my phone. You quote-tweeted the Celtic FC Women's side announcement of you coming to Celtic, and you say, "My childhood dream, I can't believe it. Over the moon to have signed my very first professional contract. Makes it even more special to be at this club. Absolutely buzzing." I can imagine you would be buzzing. But you've also mentioned that it's extra special to have signed for Celtic. So I wanted to ask what your history is with Celtic. Do you come from a Celtic background? And you seemed absolutely delighted to be making that step to professional, but also at Celtic as well.
I think it's just that idea of being Irish, really, that it's kind of just in the blood. Obviously, the background would be in the family as well. My uncle, my granddad. So it's all just in the family, really, and I just feel very proud to be here, and especially the fact that I'm Irish, it's a bonus, and it just means a lot to me, so yeah.
We'll talk a little bit about your Celtic career so far in a moment, but I want to fast forward to the good stuff. I want to fast forward to that goal you scored, your first for Celtic against for Farmington. The goal, again, it was your first goal for Celtic. Earlier in the game, Anna Philby scores in 64 seconds or something. She sets the tone for the day. And then shortly after that, she turns provider for you. She plays, a lovely ball in. You get in behind the back line, take it in your chest, on the volley over the goalkeeper. Zinedine Zidane-esque. You must have been delighted with that.
Do you know what? I was over the moon. I'd spoken about this goal a few times, and people were saying that I didn't celebrate. They were like, "Why didn't you look happy? Like, it was such a good goal, this and that." And basically, since I've gotten here, I've wanted to prove so much, and I still feel like I have so much more to prove, because it's the type of player and person I am that I always want to do better, and I always want to prove more. And just when I scored that, it was like almost a weight off my shoulder and just a reassurance for myself. And honestly, I was just over the moon, especially when I seen the goal as well, and I was very proud of it. I didn't actually realise I didn't think it was that good until I looked back over. I was like, I didn't even realise what I did. It was like, I was very happy, very proud.
Is that your way of saying you've watched it a few times on YouTube since?
Yeah, a few times.
I mean, obviously, it's a really well taken goal. I dare say you would have taken, a tap in 2 yards from goal, and to score such a finessed and well taken goal is even more special. What's going through your mind because you know that Anna can play that ball in right behind the back line between the goalkeeper and the defenders really well. You've also timed your run perfectly. You've taken it down in your chest and you've put it over the goalkeeper. Is it all happening very quickly? Are you able to, remember what you're thinking as that ball's coming in?
I remember thinking I was offside at one stage, because obviously I remember seeing the ball, and Anna I'd say she has one of the most assists in the league. She is unbelievable with her passes and her assists right every game, and she's been so consistent. So I seen that she was on the ball, and obviously I was eager to, because I obviously I've still a lot to prove, like I was saying. So I just seen that run. I just made a dart and run, and luckily she played it, and I was just in the right position, the right time, and just took it. And that's all I could ask for, really. Anna's been top quality as well. So I'm just glad she was on the ball and could play me the ball. So I'm happy.
Yeah. We were talking before we started recording about the little niggle you had in the lead up to that game, and you said to the Celtic FC Women's website that it was sort of playing in your mind, and you were glad to overcome, any of the kind of mental restraint that would have had on you to get that goal. Can you tell me a little bit more about the injury? I know it's something which had frustrated you a little bit up until that point.
So I obviously have never played on Astro properly, and especially the fact that it's my first time being full-time over here. So I've obviously come over here and we've been training on Astro every day, which I'm not used to, and it's obviously not the best as Astro either. So it's quite tough on the legs, and like I would have been running every day and stuff, but it wouldn't have been on an Astro. So it almost felt like I was running on ground every day. So I was having little niggles at, say, the end of training or during the game, and little things that are so small, but just they take percent off your game without even realizing. So obviously when I had scored that goal, it was just like a reassurance. It was like, come on, you're stronger than that. Like, it's just a little niggle, you'll be fine. And I feel like that's what happened when I scored the goal. I got a boost and a buzz and adrenaline. I kicked in, and I didn't even. It was out of my mind about my little niggles. So that's pretty much it. Yeah.
Not to inflate your ego, but I don't think anyone could tell that you had a niggle at that point the way you took that goal. Let's rewind a bit. You obviously mentioned, as if people can't tell with your accent, you obviously mentioned coming over from Ireland. You came in February from Shelburne, and just in time, well, I say just in time for the restart. You came in February, obviously. The women's game restarted in April. Something which I make a point of asking any of the players we've spoken to over the last year, be that men's, women's, reserves, whatever, is it's been a very special year, a very different year in terms of adjusting to everything that's been happening. And of course, the women's game has been pretty stop-start. And you've obviously travelled from home and you're set up now in Glasgow. How have you found that personally, dealing with the lockdowns? I know we're starting to make progress there, but just everything that the last year's brought.
So it's quite funny that when I was signing in February, obviously we weren't 100% sure if the league was starting, and this is obviously my first time signing a professional contract, and there was a possibility that I would have signed the contract and the season couldn't have went ahead. So I would have actually had my first time being a professional footballer, and I wouldn't have even played if things didn't go to plan. So obviously when we were told on the 5th of March we're going to be coming back over training on the 7th, it was a weight off. It was the biggest relief that it was going to go ahead, because I was taking a risk by signing, because with my contract I wouldn't have been able to sign with anyone else, and that was until June when it was over. So I was just such a relief to get in and get training, and all the girls, everyone's putting so much work on Zoom calls, putting so much work behind the scenes, and then as soon as we started training, everyone's been flying, and that's all I could ask for, and it's just been so good settling in, and the girls have been great. So I'm happy now. I'm really happy.
What would you you said you had to have waited until the June, but mentally that must have been quite difficult because you're just hoping against hope that the league definitely goes ahead at that point.
It was honestly a nightmare, because obviously no one knew it was going to happen, and especially the fact that I would be moving away from home, I was going to be having a new life, and I didn't even know it was going to happen. So I just had my fingers crossed, and every day I woke up I'd be checking my phone, every hour I'd check my phone to see if anything was being said, and I did get information a lot quicker that we were coming over a lot sooner than I thought, and everything's went to plan so far. So
you say that everything going to plan, that leads me perfectly into my next question. That 4-4 game, the one you scored in, you scored the second of the afternoon. That was a fantastic 8-0 victory, and it's part of this incredible run which you guys are on just now. 10 games unbeaten, 9 of those victories, and of course that draw goalless draw with Glasgow City before. In terms of things going to plan, certainly since you've come in, it really couldn't be much better.
I was actually thinking of this yesterday. I was like, I don't know Celtic in any other eyes than what I'm seeing it now. And the way I see it is that we're the best team in the league. And I'm always going to think that. I'm always going to be positive. And I just think it's crazy that I've looked, obviously, I've been told everything, that we've only came second place, getting Champions League twice, and we've never won it in 13 years. I just think since I've came here, that is crazy to think, because we deserve a lot better and we've so much to prove, and I really do think this is going to be our year, and everything's just going to be more positive going forward for Celtic. So
it seems to be the general belief from every one of you guys, and Fran as well, that I've spoken to, that there's that real belief in the team, and you can see it on the pitch. And I wanted to talk about, you said about, you see yourself believe that you're the best, and of course big win against Rangers at the weekend. I wanted to talk about that. I wanted to talk about the 1-0 game as well last month, but specifically about your part in that. And I know that you come on as a sub in both games, and I wanted to double check going through the Twitter account. And according to the Twitter account, you came on at 78 minutes, both games. The game is tied. The game is tied in both occasions. And then, of course, by full time, 12 minutes later, Celtic have won. It seemed to be some sort of recurring theme there. So in terms of impact subs, that doesn't come much better either.
I mean, to be honest with you, I don't know how much of an impact I had on both games, but maybe they look at Irish or something came on, and I have no idea. But I didn't know I came on same minute both games. That's mad to think, and obviously same score. Well, 2-1 and then 1-0, but
yeah,
I didn't know that. No, that's made my day.
the first game, of course, happens at Celtic Park, and I know that you got a lot of really cracking. I was looking through your social media and some really good photos when you signed. Of course, you're in the tunnel, you're up on the little deck and overlooking the pitch. You'd have been in the trophy room before that, and you're saying about all you know about Celtic is what you've seen. When you combine that with actually making it onto the turf and playing in a derby that Celtic obviously go into win in quite dramatic fashion, I mean, I can only imagine, as a Celtic fan myself, I can only imagine that is a dream come true.
I mean, even the way my dad puts it, how many people could say they've came on 19 years of age and bet Rangers 1-0 in Celtic Park. So it's as easy as that. It honestly was one of the best days of my life, and I'll never forget it.
What did he say to you afterwards?
He's a proper Celtic fan, so he was speechless. He was just like, just remember this because you're never going to forget it. And I definitely will.
Yeah. And of course, I mean, because of the restrictions that have been levied on the game just now, I don't imagine he's been able to get to any of the games. I mean, he'll be desperate to come and see you and properly cheer you on in person once the restrictions start lifting.
Not the bestest in Ireland at the moment, so I'd say not this year. Hopefully next year though. He was obviously planning on coming over, and then restrictions have been they're a bit more strict in Ireland. So, but hopefully next year, start the season, that things are different and everything goes to plan.
Just speaking to, again, going back to the Rangers game, I know you substitute appearance at the weekend there as well. What's going through your mind when you know there's so much at stake in the game? You know, it's level, you're heading into the last stretch of the game. Fran kind of looks to the bench and gives you the nod. What's describe the emotions you're feeling at that point?
So, in my eyes, it's a million times more nerve-wracking, more pressure when you're on the bench than actually on the pitch sometimes, because you're eager to go, your toes are rattling, and I had a feeling he was gonna call me in both games, and I mean, I was getting ready to go on. Obviously, mentally, I was ready for any second he was going to call me. And I think it's just important that you put that pressure on yourself, but just not too much pressure. So obviously, my dad would always say, just enjoy it first, because there's no point putting too much pressure on it. And that's what I did. I didn't want to take things obviously, it was a big game, so I took things seriously. But at the same time, I had to relax because I didn't want to, not be strong mentally and focused. So bit of both. So
I hope you start in the next game against Rangers, but if you don't and it gets to 78 minutes, you want to be getting up and tapping Fran in the back, and that's for me now. I mean, speaking of Fran Alonso, I don't think I've seen a happier man in a post-match interview, the one he did with Celtic TV, the grin from ear to ear. I mean, what sort of things was he saying to you guys at the final whistle? Because he looked like the happiest man in the country.
After the game there on Sunday, I thought he was going to cry. He's just such a proud man, and he lets us know that clearly. And even in the Celtic Park, he was I described him as like a child at a sweet shop. He was just so happy, and he wanted it as much as all of us. That's the best thing about this team, is it's not just the players that want it, it's the staff. It's not just the staff, it's the fans. It's everyone. It's just such a big thing that everyone wants it, and I think it's that togetherness that really does help us, like on the inside and training on the pitch. And he's been great since I've got here, so I'm really, really loving being under him. Yeah,
anytime I've spoken to Fran, you just kind of oozes that energy, as you say, and the kind of sweet shop analogies is very good. But I mean, further to Fran, you've obviously got people like Kelly Clark, who is a great captain, has been here for a long time. Chloe Craig, who celebrated 200 appearances for Celtic not so long ago. And then, of course, you've got younger players like yourself, coming in and maybe haven't been here that long, but you know everything about Celtic, you know what it means. It feels like, and this is kind of just further what you said there, it feels like there's a really good balance throughout the squad. You'd have to agree with that yourself.
Oh, 100%. There's definitely a lot more young players than I actually expected. Obviously, there's a lot of players coming from the academy and stuff that you have a bright future ahead of them. And then there's obviously the likes of Kelly and Craig, who have been here for a long time, and it's so important to have balance and that experience, but at the same time that freshness to the game. And just glad that I can be young, and hopefully, like what you say about Craig and Kelly, that I can once be in their boat where people are saying that's how long she's been here and this and that. So it's good to see the balance and the experience. So
yeah, because I mean, the women's game in Scotland, certainly over the last couple of years, Celtic going professional not so long ago, it's making real strides in Scotland, and it'll be great for people like Kelly and Chloe, who have been about and they've kind of really championed the women's game and taken it forward. But to see you guys coming through as well, they must be really inspired. It kind of goes both ways, I think, to have that respect for the younger generation and the older generation in equal measure.
Yeah, 100%. I think I've also came at the right time as well. Like I said, this is how I see Celtic, and if we're in second place now, fighting for first at the moment, that's where I'm going to see us now in the future. And it's just baffled me that we've never won it, or we've only came second twice, and it's crazy to think. But all I see is onwards and upwards for Celtic from here. So it's just really good to see, and I just feel really glad that I've came at this moment of time, and I'm still young, so I've still got so much ahead of me, and so do Celtic. So
there's 3 games to go in the season, and of course, having overtaken Rangers at the weekend, that chance of the top 2 finish, as you spoke about there, the Champions League spot, it feels more real than ever. There's still a job to do, and I know that you guys have it drilled in, that it's game to game, which is naturally how you need to do it. You can't look too far ahead. What would it mean to you personally, though, to be able to finish in second and have that Champions League slot next season?
I mean, the way I look at it as well is the fact that this was my first time here, first time in a professional environment, and it would just sum up such a great thing by getting Champions League. Like, just to say, my first year as a professional at Celtic, we've gotten Champions League, and especially the fact, I'm not sure how many years it's been since we got it. I think it's been 5. I could be wrong. I think 2013 maybe, but just the fact that it's been so long, and I've just started my journey here, and to get Champions League would just mean the world to me and my family, the girls, everyone. So I'm really hoping that it all goes to plan, because I've got such bright and positive thoughts and just such bright things going for us, and I'm just really positive going forward for us and everyone.
Yeah, I mean, we hope, we really hope that you guys do have that top tier, top 2 finish to get Champions League football next year. Regardless of what happens, it's been a heroic effort from women's side from the start right through to now, and I'm sure it will continue in the last 3 games. Again, you kind of touched upon this there, but you guys have really set a new standard for Celtic moving forward. So, regardless of what happens in this last stretch, the thought of next season, the thought of challenging right at the very top in Scotland and beyond, fingers crossed, it does feel like a really exciting time, certainly from our side, to be covering the women's game. I can only imagine that it's just so exciting for you guys on the pitch.
Yeah, I mean, even if you look at all the games, if you look at, we'll win a game 8-0, the Forfar game 7 or 8-0, and every goal we're still celebrating with the same amount of passion, and it just shows how much it means to us. And one thing Fran, funny enough, said is, I think it was 5-0 at one stage in the Forfar game, and Fran kept shouting on, "It's 0-0, it's 0-0." And that's just the way he wants it better than us, to just keep going and to just be rootless. And yeah, I just think that's one thing that's really stuck with me, is the fact that in my past clubs and stuff, I didn't realise how much passion it was to score a goal, even when you're still winning 7-0. And it's just so good to have that hard passion here, and it's something I'm just loving. There's just so much pride at Celtic, and I've really gotten a taste of it, and I've only been here for 2 months, so I just can't wait to see what the future holds now.
Speaking of the future, you're of course involved in the Ireland senior side as well, and you were saying before we started recording that you've got a camp coming up next month.
Yeah, so obviously I was on standby the last camp, and we obviously have a camp coming up now on the 6th of June, so fingers crossed I'm in around it, and I can prove how much I've developed since I've came here, and hopefully I get in there, because I've still got a lot to prove to myself, and I think others as well, but I want to prove a lot more to myself too, and by being in that squad it would definitely be a confidence booster for me at the moment. So
yeah, I mean, to even be in and around obviously speaks volumes of the performances you've been putting in over the last stretch. I mean, do you have to pinch yourself sometimes to think, you're in and around Ireland, you're playing at Celtic Park for Celtic? It just seems like a dream.
I know, I just, so many little things that I just stick with me, such as I've made my debut at 16 for Ireland, and that's the youngest age you can make it, and it's just little things like that are very special to me, to say I've done this, I've done that, even to say I've signed a professional contract with Celtic. I just love lines like that can stick with me until the day I die, just to say things like that. So I do have to pinch myself sometimes, but I'm just living my dream now, and just living in the moment. So hopefully all goes to plan.
Well, here's hoping you can add a few more lines to that glittering CV at some point over the next few weeks with the Celtic FC Women side. Izzy, thank you so much for joining us on the Celtic View podcast. It's a real pleasure, and all the very best between now and the end of the season, of course, thereafter as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.